Best 5 ways to grind your coffee beans. There is nothing quite like the smell of coffee in the morning. It's perfect for getting you started on your day, and it can even be enjoyed by those who don't enjoy drinking it straight up. However, there are so many different ways to take your coffee, making them all the more difficult to decide which one you should enjoy first. Luckily, this article has 5 excellent suggestions to help you decide what to do with your beans. There are a few main ways to grind your coffee beans: in a coffee grinder, on a flat surface, in an electric burr grinder, and with a manual hand grinder. This video will explain the pros and cons of each. One of the most important things you need for a great cup of coffee is grinding your beans, but not everyone knows where to bite them. It is easy to go through your day without stopping to consider this question, but when you think about it, the answer can be straightforward. This video above will explain how to grind your coffee beans with clear and brief explanations. What is the grind size? When you grind your coffee beans, the grind size is significant. The size of the grind will determine how finely the beans are ground. There are 2 main types of grinds: coarse and fine. Rough efforts are made of larger pieces of coffee beans, which are used for brewing coffee with a strong flavor. Delicate tasks are made up of smaller pieces of coffee beans, which are used for brewing coffee with a milder flavor. For most people, a coarser grind is better. It gives you more flavor and texture in your coffee. If you want to make espresso, you should use a coarse grind. A finer grind is usually better for other types of coffee, such as regular drip coffee. Experimenting is the best way to determine how coarse or fine your grind needs to be. Start with a medium coarse grind and gradually work your way towards a finer grind over time. You don't want your coffee to become too fine, or it will become watery when brewed. Too coarse, and it will be too strong tasting. When it comes to grinding your coffee beans, the size of the grind matters. The size of the grind affects how much surface area is exposed to the water and coffee. There are 3 grind sizes: coarser, medium, and more delicate. Coarse grinds have more surface area than medium or fine grinds, resulting in a more robust cup of coffee. A French press requires a coarse grind, while an espresso machine requires a fine or medium effort. If you want to make a strong cup of coffee using a drip brewer, you need to use a finer grind. A delicate task results in a weaker cup of coffee, but it's perfect for uses such as iced coffee. When it comes to grinding your coffee beans, there are a few things that you need to take into account. The first is the type of grinder that you will be using. There are 2 main types of heroes: manual and electric. Manual grinders are the traditional grinder and require you to use your hands to grind the beans. They are not as popular as electric grinders but are more affordable and easier to use. Electric grinders are the most popular type of grinder and use a motor to grind the beans. They are more expensive, but they offer greater convenience and control over your coffee quality. It is essential to choose a grinder that is compatible with your preferred method of brewing coffee. Once you have chosen a grinder, you need to decide what size beans you would like to grind. Generally, small beans are the best ground using a manual grinder, while large beans can be used with an electric grinder. Finally, cleaning your grinder is essential to keep it operating at its best. Cleaning instructions will usually be included with your hero. If you're looking to grind your coffee beans, there are a few things you need to consider. First, you'll need to decide what type of grinder you want. There are manual grinders, electric grinders, and burr grinders. Manual grinders are the oldest type of grinder and are the most popular choice. They require you to use your hands to grind the beans. Electric grinders are faster and easier to use but can be more expensive than other grinders. Burr grinders are a newer type of grinder that looks like a coffee pot. They have a conical burr that grinds the beans evenly. They're usually more expensive than other grinders, but they're easier to use and less messy than manual grinders. Whatever type of grinder you choose, make sure it can handle your bean's size and texture. The size of the bean affects how finely the beans will be ground. The likelihood of clogging the grinder increases with the amount of surface area exposed to the blades, which is influenced by the bean's texture. Can you brew coffee beans without grinding them? If you're looking for a way to make coffee that's not ground, you can try using beans that haven't been ground. You can do this using a bean grinder or a coffee maker with a manual bean grinder. Thank you for watching www.coffeeeternal.com.